Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I want to talk about something that I caught myself doing. I actually caught myself doing it today, and I thought this would be good for a podcast episode. So I caught myself minimizing my own achievements today. And it just reminded me how sneaky those old habits like the good girl conditioning, how sneaky it can be, even when you think you've left it behind. So what happened was, I was absolutely chuffed to bits that I've been featured in the independent newspaper today. It's a moment that honestly I should be really proud of, and I am. And I was. But when I shared it with people close to me, I caught myself saying things like, oh, don't get too excited. It's not like I wrote the whole article. I was just sharing my comments and stuff like that. And then as soon as I sent these messages, I realized what was happening. I could observe it and I was like, oh, I'm totally downplaying my success and what I've achieved. I couldn't just in that moment let myself, fully enjoy it or fully announce it to people what had happened and what I'd done. And it just got me thinking again about, us as women. Why do we just feel, well, I know why, but it's just annoying, isn't it, that we feel this need to shrink ourselves in this way? And I'm sure it's not just me that does this. I'm pretty sure that if you're listening, you can probably relate to some of this in some ways. So I'll give some context to all this. So, in terms of good girl conditioning, which I talk about a lot, it's something that many of us grew up with, whether we're aware of it or not. It's those messages we got, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, it might have been from various environments and different people around us, but it ultimately told us that we need to be polite, modest, accommodating, and most importantly, not be too much. Don't be too proud, oh, don't be big headed. Don't draw too much attention to yourself. You can't be boastful. And for goodness sake, don't make anyone else feel uncomfortable by shining too brightly. You've got to be mindful of what everyone else is thinking and feeling. And because of that, we learn to deflect, don't we? To downplay, to make ourselves smaller or quieter or more digestible for people. And the thing is, it sticks with you well into adulthood. So you might not even notice it until moments like the one I had with that independent feature. And on the face of it, it's not a massive deal what I noticed about myself occurring. It's just a throwaway comment. It's probably like an automatic response in me that's still not quite changed, if you like. But when you start to see those sort of patterns a lot, they start to tell you a lot about how you've been conditioned to show up in the world. And it's almost like once you get curious about yourself and how you're responding, you sort of, yeah, it offers you these insights into, I wonder where that came from and stuff like that. The tricky part is it's quite sneaky sometimes. It doesn't have to be really obvious. It's not looking like outright self doubt, although that does also show up. Instead, it might show up in little ways, dismissing something as, oh, it's not a big deal when someone congratulates you. Or you might redirect praise that you receive with, oh, I couldn't have done it without so and so. Someone might compliment your appearance and you find yourself sort of, I don't know, deflecting it or distracting from it. Yeah, but oh, I've not even washed my hair for 2 days or something like that. Or, it's dead cheap, this. Just like these subtle ways that we minimize what people are saying to us or the positive messages we're receiving from the world. Or ultimately, when you're just not sharing your achievements at all because you don't want to feel like you're boasting or look big headed. It can even show up in how you frame your successes. If you think about it, how often do you attribute something to just good luck or timing rather than your own effort or skill? Saying, oh, I was just in the right place at the right time, or oh, I'm really lucky that I've got to do that, when really you've worked really hard to get there. It's nothing about luck. Like you've put the hard work and the effort in, but you minimize yourself like that. And it might be over a period of time and it chips away at your confidence because it's like you're sending yourself that message of, oh, that don't really count, or I don't deserve to celebrate that. I'm not really worthy of that. And it's just not true. You are worthy. So, why is this something worth addressing? Because owning your achievements isn't about giving yourself credit. It's about breaking free from a mindset that does keep you feeling like you have to keep yourself small and you're not allowed to be too loud. And it's almost sending this message you are too much. So, you have to downplay your success. And you're not just selling yourself short then, you're reinforcing the idea that it's safer to be invisible and to not take up space. And you can imagine if you're reinforcing those messages to yourself, it's going to hold you back in so many areas of your life. And also, it's not really the kind of legacy I imagine you do want to leave behind, because you may recognize that it's important that you set an example for other people in your life. Perhaps you've got children or friends or colleagues that you want to encourage. And when you are able to own your achievements, you show up for others then as well, especially other women. If you can encourage and empower women by showing what you're capable of and what you've achieved, you're saying it's okay to be proud of what you've done. You're already helping break that cycle, if you like, of us feeling like we have to minimize ourselves. So how do you stop the habit of minimizing yourself? Because let's be honest, it's not going to disappear overnight, is it? There's no magical solution to this. It's even still showing up for me sometimes, but there are small and practical steps you can start taking. First one is catch yourself in the moment. Start paying attention, as I did, to when you deflect praise or downplay something. Just start noticing it. You're not judging it that you've done it, just observe it and be curious about it. And then you can get to a stage where you practice saying thank you, full stop, when someone congratulates you. Rather than thank you, but, or, oh, it was nothing, just say thank you. Start sharing your wins. So that can feel awkward at first if you're not used to it, but it's a powerful way to reframe how you see your achievements, whether it's with a friend or a partner or just journaling. Make a habit of actually acknowledging what you've done rather than focusing on or drawing attention to what you've not done. Because we all have this negative bias as humans. We tend to see the negative things. It's like a survival strategy ingrained within us. So it takes us extra effort to fully notice and fully recognize the positives. So we have to do a bit of extra work to rebalance it out. And I'm not talking toxic positivity. I'm talking about just noticing realistically the positive things that have happened for you and the positive stuff that you have achieved. Start challenging the inner critic within you. So if you feel the urge to downplay something, ask yourself, what is it about this that's making me feel the need to minimize it? And what would it feel like to just own it? So just notice that inner critic when it pops up. If it's like, oh God, you're coming across as too boastful, or people are going to think you're big headed, whatever it might be that's going on for you, notice it and just ask yourself, would I be saying that to a friend if they'd achieved this? Would I be saying that to a loved one if they'd done that and they wanted to share it with someone or share it to the world even, And just practice noticing what you would be saying to a friend or a loved one and the tone of voice you'd be using with them. And just, even though you might not believe it when you say it, just practice saying it to yourself regardless. And over time, it'll become more ingrained and more easier and more effective for you. And then not just reframing it in a critic language, reframe verbally like what you're saying. Instead of me just saying, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, don't get too excited. I just shared some comments that I could have said, oh, I'm really proud to have contributed to that article. So proud that I got in the independent newspaper. Small shifts like that just make a big difference to how you're going to feel about it internally, and makes a difference to what you're reinforcing within yourself as well. You're breaking that cycle every time you reframe something. So it's a bit of a shorter episode today because I literally just jumped on to record this after what happened this morning while it was fresh in my mind. But if you've been listening and thinking, oh God, yeah, I do this too, I can't stop it and stuff like that, let me just reiterate that you are not alone. Like, this is something so many of us carry. I see it daily in my work as well and within like my friendship groups and stuff. And it's not our fault. It's the result of years of conditioning. But the good news is, once you notice it, you can start to change it. You start observing it and changing it. I just want to leave you with a little challenge as well. So think about a recent win, something you're proud of, big or small, and don't just say it's small, something you've achieved. Reflect back, like, how did you talk about it to others? Did you notice yourself minimizing it? Are you cringing because maybe you didn't minimize it? Just notice what's going on for you and take a moment to reframe it in a way that truly reflects how much it matters and what an achievement it actually is, as you would want a friend to. And remind yourself you deserve to take up space. You deserve to be proud of yourself. And the world needs more women who aren't afraid to own their achievements, so we can all collectively start breaking this cycle of the good girl conditioning. And on that note, thank you so much for listening. If this has been helpful or you've enjoyed listening, please do like, share, or subscribe. And feel free to let me know if there is anything else that you want me to cover in my podcast. And until then, I'll see you soon.